it's fascinating. But I'll say this: I think that you have to pay Trey Hendrickson. This is my thoughts. How much is going to be the big question here?
Big one.
But he undoubtedly should not. I don't view Trey Hendrickson as expendable personally. That's just me. And there's a little bit of a method to my madness here. I think Cincinnati has to build up some goodwill with their players. They got to do a better job of retaining the players that have produced high production for them. It's something that they've really struggled with, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Obviously, certain players that you let walk out here at address next to why they're no longer here. Guys like DJ Reader, there's the injury concern, right? Then there's guys like Jesse Bates. You say, oh, well, his agent was unwilling to play ball with us, and he was asking for highest paid safety in the league money, right? Then you have Chidobe Awuzie, who's coming off of the ACL injury. Those are all valid guys to move off of. Larry Okunjobi, he thought he was getting a big deal with the Chicago Bears. They failed him for his physically unable to perform with his foot injury. Tried to come back to Cincinnati. You allocated those dollars to BJ Hill instead of Larry Okunjobi. If the Bengals could go back and do it, they probably would choose Larry Okunjobi over BJ Hill. When you look at it, though, I'm talking strictly on the defensive side of the ball right now. Who has the Bengals outside of the name Joe Burrow, right? Who has the Bengals built up goodwill with, and they've produced at a high level, and the Bengals have signed and they've kept? I think that there's something to be said about a high producing player like Trey Hendrickson. The fact of the matter is, there is no one walking through those doors that are going to immediately just produce the way Trey did. And there's no one right now actively on the roster who has shown us that they could turn into that said player. Here's my biggest fear, guys. My biggest fear is that the Bengals are going to go into the draft an edge rusher and say, you know what, Trey, we appreciate everything you did. You're going to let you play out this final year on your deal. We try to negotiate with you at our price range of what we want. But we're going to move forward with this young player. And I feel like this young player might be thrusted into a spot and expected to produce like a Trey Hendrickson, kind of similar to a Dax Hill when it came to the Jesse Bates situation. I really hope that they learn from those mistakes. Now, hear me out. I think that I feel like there is a road where the two sides can meet. And it's a number that these two sides can meet at. And I could tell you from talking with Trey Hendrickson, meeting him, he doesn't seem like a greedy guy. It's not like I don't think he's asking to be the top paid pass rusher in the league or anything like that. I just think he more so wants, I think he sees the numbers, 57 sacks in 4 years, right?
100%.
That you divide that, that's about, he's averaging almost 15 sacks a season.
I think he would take less like overall money again for guaranteed money. Like that would be a big thing.
And this goes back to our initial point, right? Of the Bengals have to change the way that they do business because players are looking at it like, holy shit, I'm signing here in Cincinnati, right? I'm getting guaranteed money up front, but after that year, there's no more guaranteed money, significant guaranteed money. So what happens if I put together elite numbers? Could you imagine if Jamar Chase, and this is the game that we're in, this is the league that we're in, could you imagine if Jamar Chase put up the numbers that he put up this season, Triple Crown receiver, signed for what he signed for with the Bengals, and the Bengals got him at a bargain deal, and they're like, yeah, we got you at a bargain deal. But that's how contracts work.
That's the risk you're taking.
You don't get to go back and say, hey, I performed elite. Let's rework my contract because I exceeded expectations. You don't get the chance to do that. You don't get the opportunity to do that. So the Bengals are going to be forced in a situation, not only with Jamar Chase, but quite possibly with players moving forward where you might have to change the way that you operate from a guaranteed money standpoint. You might have to. And that's where I'm at. Trey Hendrickson's situation is going to play itself out. It's going to be what it's going to be. But I think that this is us looking at the Bengals and saying fundamentally, I think players are realizing, and I think that's where Trey Hendrickson felt. Trey Hendrickson saw the numbers he was putting up, and he's like, you know what? There's no more guarantees beyond year one. It's not like the Bengals did me wrong, but if I'm playing at this elite level, why aren't there guarantees?
That's the thing, though. I think they could give him like an extension, but again, it comes back to the guaranteed money because if they don't have more guaranteed past year one, let's say people were asking about a contract extension, like what would you do? Okay, let's say You do a 2-year extension. So he has this year.
Which is very probably what the Bengals would do.
So he gets this year plus 2 more, right?
Yeah.
So 3 years total. Let's say you give him $24 million a year, right? We put him at the same number that all the other guys are. That's a 20% raise, right? Okay, cool. So you end up at $24 million a year for the next 2 years. Let's just take $6 million off the last year because he's going to be older and maybe you want to cut him, right? So $18 million that year. We tack it on to this year. Okay, now you're at $21 million. Let's take $2 million off this other year. Well, and now that's $20 million. And now we have 23 for this year. So his cap hits now are 23, 20, and 18 for the next 3 years. I think he's fine with that. I think they're fine with that. But the problem is, I don't think they give him more guarantees past that first year. And that is the issue because I think they guarantee 12 or 15 million of that 24 in the first year. But I think they look at him with his age, with his history, his injury history, and then their history of doing contracts and go, that's not the way we do business.
It's extremely creative the way the Bengals set up their contracts because it protects them. It protects them. It says, hey, the guarantees are going to be front loaded. And if you fall off a cliff or if you get hurt or whatever the case would be, we can move on. Sucks to be you. Right? Sorry about it. And the players are like, well, I want more guaranteed money beyond just year one. Let's do guarantees in year 1 and year 2. Like who's to say Trey? I don't see this happening. But who's to say Trey Hendrickson doesn't go from 17.5 sacks this year to 6 next year? And then it's like,
especially when it comes to sacks, which can be random at times anyways. That's
right. But I think Trey Hendrickson is a game wrecker. I think Trey Hendrickson is a game changer. And right now, when you look at the face of the Bengals defense, who else is doing that? Who else is a game changer? I don't want to hear the word potential. I don't want to hear the word intangibles. I don't want to hear that this player could grow into that potentially. I'm talking about right now as it stands today. You take Trey Hendrickson off the Bengals, there's no impact player on the defensive side of the ball. Respectfully.
Not even close.